Hey guys, Shane from Rock Outdoors, and I'm here with professional fisherman Chris Brown. And we're going to take a few minutes and we're going to help you out. If you're in the market for buying a bass boat, we're going to answer some of the questions that you may have.
Rock Outdoors in Lexington has the new boat you've been dreaming of. From pontoons to high-performance bass boats and saltwater boats, we have what you need to get on the water now. We're one of the largest Vexus dealers in the nation. We also carry Bennington pontoons, Avenger, Crestliner, Pioneer, Bullet Boats, and Bass Cat. We have certified mechanics on site for Evinrude, Mercury, Mercruiser, and Yamaha with same-day service opportunities. We are committed to setting the new standard in boat ownership and maintenance. Rock Outdoors on Highway 8 in Lexington. RockOutdoors.com.
All right, so Chris, tell me, somebody approaches you, they want to buy a bass boat, they're in the market, but they just don't know. They don't know if they want Bass Cat, they don't know if they want Vexus, they don't know what they want, how long they want, how wide it is. They don't have any information. What's one of the first questions that people ask you? Budget?
Budget is generally the first question I get asked. You know, we work 4 shows a year, and I would say probably 90% of the first question I get at all those shows is price. You know, whether it be payment options, total price of the boat. You know, generally the way I look at that is, you want to get the most you can get for what you're going to spend. But yeah, generally price is the first thing that I get asked.
One question that I would think is, how much storage do you have on a particular boat? And I know that's going to kind of vary. What's something that you look for your own boat as far as storage goes? And what kind of options are out there as far as places you can put your gear?
Storage really varies on which particular model boat that you choose to run. Like this boat we're sitting in now, this is a Lynx. This is a Bass Cat Lynx. And this is actually their flagship boat. It's a 21-foot boat, and it's got just an unbelievable amount of storage in it. It's got a huge front deck on it. It's got several places in the back here. For me, you know, I run a Pantera Classic, which is a 19.6 boat, and one of the reasons that I really like that boat is it's got just a really big front deck on it, and it's got a storage right in front of the console, and another one there, a rod storage in the middle, and then another storage on the side. But the reason that I really like it is because I can lay, if I choose to, I can lay 10 rods out on the front of the boat, and it still have enough room on the front where I don't feel like I'm going to step on my rods every time I set the hook, or if I go from the front to the back to crank my big motor and run somewhere else. And but now that all varies. You know, storage is going to be different from, say, a 17-foot boat to a 21-foot boat, just simply because the difference between like a 17-foot boat and a 21-foot boat obviously is, you know, it's 4 foot shorter, and then a lot of times the beam, which is the width on the front from side to side, is going to be, you know, probably 5 to 6 inches shorter on each side of the boat. And it just varies, you know. It really varies on, there's just a lot of variables that go into that. You know, it depends on whether you're going to weekend fish, or if you're going to fish big bodies of water, you know, where you're going to need a lot more stuff. But that's really, you know, the difference is in the size of the boat as to how much storage it has.
Now, what about like speed of the boat? What is important, and is that even important to somebody buying a bass boat? Do they really care about speed?
A lot of people, it just depends. You know, if you're a tournament fisherman and you fish big bodies of water, speed is very important, because you know, when you're a tournament fisherman, it's all about efficiency. You know, you want to cover, you know, we only get 8 hours, you know, and then sometimes if we're in one of the earlier flights, we might not get that much. And what you want to do is you want to be as efficient as you can be in a day's time. Where you got 8 hours to fish, you know, you want to be able to get from point A to point B as quickly as you can. And it's not about outrunning anybody. It's about getting as many casts in as you can in a day's time. If you're not a tournament fisherman, speed's not nearly as important, unless you just like to go fast. You know, some guys just like to go fast even though they're not tournament fishermen. So a lot of that all boils down to what your need is and what you enjoy doing. You know, honestly, to tell you the truth, you know, my boat will run 71, 72 miles an hour. But I very rarely, except on tournament day, I very rarely ever drive it that fast. I'm just not a speed kind of guy. But now, I will say there is, you know, on blast off, if I've got one of the earlier boat numbers, I do like the fact that I can run off and leave everybody. I'm not going to lie about that.
No, this is the Bass Cat Lynx.
This is the Lynx that we're in right now.
It's got a Mercury
It's got
Pro
a
XS.
Pro XS 4-stroke.
How fast will this boat run?
This boat here is not as fast as, say, as the boat right there beside us as a Caracal, but because it's bigger and it's deeper and it's a little heavier, but this boat will run 70 miles an hour.
Okay.
loaded.
Okay.
But now, another, like the Caracal, the boat right there beside us, it's a little shorter and a little lighter, and it's got a 225 on it. That boat will actually run about 75 probably. But as it's a trade-off. One of the trade-offs you have in that is this boat will probably handle big, rough water a little better than that one will. And now that boat will walk off and leave. This will not even compare. It's no comparison.
Now, a question that I've heard folks ask is, how well does it fish? Now, explain that to me because I don't have any idea what you're talking about. Because this boat ain't catching no fish.
No, and
It's
actually,
gonna be the fisherman that
yeah,
does
it's the
that.
fisherman that catches the fish, and the boat actually has, that little fish down there that you're trying to catch. He has no idea what kind of boat you're in, and
Right.
even when you put him in the live well, he don't know what he is.
So what are we talking about? How well does it fish?
What that means, how well does it fish? There's several variables to that. One thing to how well it fishes is stability in the water. Like when you go from one side of the boat to the next, does it rock? That's got a lot to do with that. And then another thing too, a big boat like this is a length, it's a 21-foot boat. I like to pier fish. I like to fish a lot of docks. This boat, when you get in between those docks, you can't spin it around and come back out. You actually have to turn the trolling motor around and back it back out. And that's not a bad thing. It's just that this model boat is just big for that, style of fishing. And that's one of the reasons why I choose to run a 19-foot boat versus a 21-foot boat, because I can spin mine around in between them. But a lot of that, how does it fishes really good. A lot of that is how it goes, how it handles in real shallow water, and how it handles rough water too. And when you hear us talk about, this boat fishes really good, and like I said, a lot of it too is stability. When you go from one side to the next, it doesn't rock, or it don't feel like, like when you go from one side of the boat, say like, I'm standing over there and I flip over there and I set the hook, and my co-angler or my team tournament partner comes from the back of the boat to the front of the boat to net the fish. Stability is, it doesn't feel like when he's coming from the back of the boat to the front of the boat, he's going to throw you in the lake. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So when you hear guys say this boat fishes really good, a lot of times that's what they're talking about.
Okay. So wider, longer?
Wider, longer is more stable. Shorter and not as long and not as wide, but
Is more maneuverable.
is more maneuverable. It's kind of a trade-off on the two.
Now, what about fuel mileage? People are probably going to ask, okay, what's, in a car you get how many ever miles to the gallon? Is that a concern in a boat?
There is nothing to that translates. There's nothing that you can translate from a car to what a boat motor gets, even though these are 4-stroke engines. The reasoning behind that is a lot of it has to do with how you drive them. The faster you drive these things, they turn RPMs, and they'll turn 5,800 RPMs, which is a lot. The more RPMs you turn, the more gas they're going to burn. Now with a 4-stroke, you don't have to worry about burning oil. With the older 2-stroke motors and they had oil, you had to worry about burning oil as well. So you don't have to worry about that with this new Mercury Pro XS. But I will say the one thing, that motor right there is just unbelievable when it comes to fuel mileage. I mean, I average 150, 170 days, a year on the water. I mean, I fish as much as anybody does, not to be a full-time pro, And, but, you're going to get probably 3 to 4 miles a gallon, on with these 4-stroke motors, whereas with the other ones, it might just be 1.5 miles, 2 miles a gallon, maybe give or take, with a 2-stroke. But a lot of that into consideration when you're thinking about speed. This Lynx, the one that we're sitting in now, it's a bigger, heavier, deeper, wider boat. So it's not going to go as fast as a 20-foot boat, such as a Caracal with less horsepower on that, because this is a bigger, heavier boat when it comes to that. But the fuel mileage on all of these is going to be the same, irregardless of which boat you have it on. And that all comes down to how you drive it. But if you keep it around 4,000 RPMs, 4,200 RPMs, which is 38 to 42 miles an hour, depending on where you set your trim out on your motor, they're not going to burn near as much fuel. It all depends on how you drive it.
Is there something else, anything else that you need to consider if you're first time, you fish a lot, you're ready to get out there and you want to buy a bass boat? To me, I'm thinking comfort. Does comfort mean anything to you?
Oh yeah, ride definitely means a lot. I mean, a boat like this, a bigger, heavier boat like this is going to ride better than say a 17-foot boat of any comparable brand. A bigger, heavier, deeper boat's going to ride because it's going to handle rough water better. But at the same time, the one thing that I really try to, you have to tow these things back and forth to the lakes. I mean, You got to have a vehicle that'll pull a boat like this. I mean, you can't pull a boat like this with a little SUV. I mean, you got to have a full-size SUV, a full-size pickup truck, something with a 5.7-liter V8 in it, with big brakes, because you can pull it, but you also got to stop it. The little SUV, it may pull it, but at the same time, you can burn your transmission up. And that's another thing you have to think about too when you're buying a bass boat is the capacity of your tow vehicle, towing package, engine, transmission, oil cooler, all that stuff. And that's another thing to think about. Whereas with a smaller, or say an aluminum boat, such as the aluminum Vexus line that we sell right here, you can pull those and stop those with a smaller truck, such as a Toyota Tacoma, or any of the smaller SUVs. Whereas when you move up to a glass boat, you need to have something that'll, something with a bigger engine in it to pull it, or something with like Ford makes one with an EcoBoost, something comparable to that.
So, okay. So then what the boat's made out of is going to mean something to you.
It absolutely.
This is made out of fiberglass.
This is fiberglass.
Vexus is made out of?
It's made out of an aluminum. That's a much lighter boat than a fiberglass boat.
Okay, so the weight of the boat's going to mean something to you.
Yes, it means a lot. It actually, weight of the boat means a lot of different things. It has a lot to do with how it rides. It has a lot to do with how fast it goes. And it has a lot to do with what you can tow it with, because you got to get it back and forth to the lake.
So if they're looking, if they've got just an SUV with a few thousand-pound tow capacity, they need to come check out one of the Vexus.
They need to come check out one of the aluminum Vexus, or like the Bass Cat makes the Pantera Classic. That's a light boat. I mean, you can pull it with a smaller pickup truck or an SUV. But when you get up around a Caracal or a Lynx or something like that, it's a bear pulling them back and forth. It really is. And you got to have something with the towing capacity to do it. But like I said, the aluminum Vexus, you can tow it with a smaller SUV or there's really no such thing as a compact pickup truck anymore. Say it's like a Toyota Tacoma or a Toyota, or such as a 4Runner or something like that. That would work. That's a smaller SUV.
Okay.
That would tow it.
What are questions that you working the boat shows, messing in the industry? What questions do folks ask you? Have we covered everything? Did we miss something?
I don't think, as far as I know, the biggest is budget, speed, fishability, storage, and
bells and whistles, comfort.
Bells and whistles and comfort. You have different. Like I'm going to use Bass Cat. Well, Bass Cat's Pro Staff, but so I'll use them as an example. They have a Vision Tour and they have a Premium Tour. And the difference is the fiberglass working bait is the same on all of them, but the difference between the Vision and the Premium is you get more bells and whistles, more switches, upholstering's a little different, but that comes with a uptick in price too. And that all goes back to budget. But most of the time it's budget, speed, storage, fishability, and ride. I get asked a lot about ride too. How does this boat ride? Because the fact of the matter is our lakes are just becoming increasingly more crowded, especially if you fish during the summertime. It's not so bad during the winter months or the early spring or even in the fall. But from Easter Sunday to Labor Day, there is a lot of recreational boat, and I'm not saying anything bad about that. They've got just as much right to be there as we do. But that's something you have to factor in if you're going to be on the lakes on the weekend. There's a lot more pleasure boats, wakeboard boats. Wakeboard boats throw out a really big weight. Pontoons. It seems like there's more Sea-Doos and jet skis now than there ever has been. And like I said, that's not a knock against them. But I mean, that's something to think about if you're going to be on the lakes during the summertime, during the weekend. You better think about how good your boat rides, because if you hit one of those wakeboard boats, hit one of those wakes off those wakeboard boats at a high rate of speed, and you don't hit it right, you will know it. It will let you know it very quickly. And I get asked that a lot. That's one of the questions that I do get asked a lot. Now, one thing I've noticed, I will say this too, one thing I've noticed a lot at these shows now, and I think it's I think it's great. There's a lot of guys and their wives and their families are all fishing together now. So they're asking about, whereas somebody like me, I spend 95% of my time by myself. But they're asking a lot about multiple people in a boat. And that comes back to, well, my boy will be up on the front, and my wife, and maybe my younger child will be in the back, and they ask a lot about, deck space and storage space and stuff like that. I've noticed that, especially this year, we were at Raleigh and we were at the Charlotte show a couple weeks ago, and I got asked that a lot. And I mean, I think that is a wonderful thing, because I mean, fishing's a great thing. It's a good thing, and it's a good thing that families can do together. That's just something that I've noticed this year that I haven't noticed in years past.
So now this boat's set up with the pedal seat up front and one in the back. and then the 2 chairs here. Is this set up for two people to
Oh,
fish?
this
Four
one here is
people
set
to
up for like
fish?
4 people to fish because you can actually set 2 people here, 1 there, and then this boat's deep enough where actually somebody could sit right there if they wanted to
And do some fishing.
and do some fishing. Yeah, and the deck on this boat's big enough where you can have 2 up front and 2 back here without no question at all.
Cool.
And, and a lot of times, you do that to offset cost, gas and, in the vehicle and then in the boat. And if you get, 2 to 3 people in a boat, everything's always cheaper if you split it 2 or 3 ways, and that's the way a lot of our boats are set up. And this boat here actually is set up just for that. You could take a family in this boat and have but you could do that and actually you could do that with a Caracal, and then actually you could do that with that 2080 Vexus that we have in stock right there as well too. That's a big enough boat. I noticed a trend last year and this year more towards. It seems like a lot of people are buying aluminum now, and more so than fiberglass. I know a lot of that has to do with price because fiberglass boats are. Let's just be honest. I mean, they're not cheap. A fiberglass boat's expensive. I mean, and they've really skyrocketed. The price of them has really skyrocketed. That's got a lot to do with popularity and stuff like that as well too. But I've noticed it, especially this year when we were. I'll be curious. We're going to the Greensboro show next weekend, and I'll be curious to see if it carries over to the Greensboro show too. Because it seems like a lot of people are trending more towards aluminum now, though. Because I mean, you know how many aluminum Vexuses we've sold in the last year. It's a lot, phenomenal.
Well, Chris, thank you for your time.
You're
If
welcome.
you've got questions about what kind of boat, come down here to Rock Outdoors in Lexington, see our staff. We can walk you around all of our Vexus and Bass Cat, bullet boats. We can even show you a few
Crestliner.
pontoons, Crestliners,
Crestliner.
Avenger.
And then we've got several. We got Bennington pontoons as well too.
We got Bennington, Barletta pontoons. Come see us. We'll figure out which boat's right for you, and we'll get you fixed up. We'll answer all your questions.
One more thing I want to add to it. I love being a part of the Rock Outdoors team, and I'm a tournament fisherman. But this is just not just a fishing store. It's an apparel store, and there's a lot of good things. We all, a lot of us, we are fishermen, we're tournament fishermen, but there's a lot of stuff going on here for the whole family, and I just kind of wanted to add that in too.
Come see us here at Rock Outdoors.
Thanks, guys. Y'all have a good one.